Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm your presenter Mervin. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, Cabinet approves $70,000 for a major project in Good Hope. The Ministry of Health takes seriously the fight against non-communicable diseases, and the 2016 Carnival celebrations officially begin this weekend. Stay with us for details of these and other stories after this. Thank you for staying with us. The Cabinet has approved $70,000 for an infrastructural project in the Good Hope community. This was confirmed this week by the Honourable Parliamentary Representative for the Casbos constituency, Johnson Drago. Honourable Drago was addressing the third inaugural meeting of the Good Hope Village Council.
Cabinet has taken a decision, with my advice, that the priority project that is to be implemented right now is that culvert on your way to Sansevere, live in Good Hope, at a cost of $70,000, because we are losing the road in that area, if all of you know that. So immediately, as early as next week, $70,000 will be sent to the Good Hope Village Council for the construction of that portion of road down there.
The Honourable Casbos MP also highlighted some of the projects undertaken in that community during the last 3 years.
This bridge down by the bayside was a major project of $180,000. And I remember when we had this storm and the culvert got blocked. We know the debris that was there. We could not continue with a culvert in that area. I had to build a bridge. And that project became a priority project for Good Hope for me. And we did build the bridge. And we are happy that now, whenever it rains heavily, that access out of Good Hope is there. That was not the only project we undertaken in Good Hope. Because you may recall that after the storms, most of the culverts were blocked. As a matter of fact, every culvert in the Good Hope area was blocked. And we had to undertake projects to replace the culverts when necessary, open the culverts when necessary.
In more news, the Ministry of Health is taking the fight against non-communicable diseases very seriously. That's according to Hospital Medical Services Director, Dr. Ruby Blah. Dr. Blah was addressing the Caribbean Diabetic Retinopathy Screening and Treatment Program workshop on Thursday. She says Dominica's draft non-communicable disease policy plans to reduce the incidence of preventable blindness.
The plan includes 1. The development of an integrated approach for disease control, human resource development, as well as infrastructure and technology development at various levels of the health system. 2. Advocacy for promoting Vision 2020 by strengthening the communication, information, and education programs at various levels of the community. This will involve formulating and implementing evidence-based strategies in support of Vision 2020. And 3, establishing partnerships to mobilize additional resources. More specifically, to reduce blindness from diabetic retinopathy, the plan seeks to establish an accurate national register of diabetes in collaboration with the Diabetes Association. It also hopes to improve services through increased screening coverage for diabetic retinopathy in order to identify diabetics at risk for visual loss due to diabetic retinopathy. And it expands the use, or hopes to expand the use, of the fundus photography and counseling throughout Dominica. And finally, to develop clearly defined clinical guidelines for evaluating and treating diabetic retinopathy in a cost-effective manner.
She says it is against this background of national policies and plans that the government of Dominica welcomes the Caribbean Diabetic Retinopathy Program funded by the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust.
This new development will definitely help us to expand our diabetic funders photography program and implement a number of our strategic plans to reduce blindness by diabetic retinopathy. And for this, the government of Dominica is indeed thankful.
She notes, however, that to improve compliance from diabetic patients to access services aimed at screening and managing the disease, consolidation of the services into a one-stop visit is the next advancement to strengthen primary health services in Dominica. Acting Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Kira Paul, says that International Women's Day 2016 is expected to be a great success. International Women's Day is annually held on March 8 to celebrate women's achievements throughout history and across nations. It is also known as the United Nations Day for Women's Rights and International Peace. This year's theme is Pledge for Parity.
For International Women's Day on March 8th, the theme for this year is Pledge for Parity. So on that day, we plan to do a theatrical production where we ask persons to come and view like a theatrical piece, different pieces, and the funds from that would go towards an organization that deals with gender issues, and also to, as a continuation of the previous year, a woman would be recognized on that day for her contribution.
The acting director told GIS News that she does not want the importance of social development to be downplayed.
Well, obviously, the society itself is the foundation for the economy. So if you can address people's social needs, including their whole well-being, their psychological well-being, their physical well-being, their emotional well-being, then you are actually creating the foundation where you can see the results in terms of the economy. While infrastructure and so is important, but to work that infrastructure and to realize the benefits from that infrastructure, you need to address people's social needs.
Dominica's 2016 Carnival celebrations officially begin on Saturday with a parade through the streets of the capital. Deputy Chairperson of the Carnival Road Committee, Charlene White Christian, says the parade begins at 3 p.m. and ends at the forecourt of the Windsor Park Stadium. She told news reporters this week that this year's event looks promising.
We have about 6 advertising floats. We have 6 Lapo Cabrit bands. We have about 5 sensei groups, including the Darkies and so from Good Hope. We have about 4 cheerleading groups. We have our band moving from Qualiho. They are back, and we are very grateful that they are back. We are very grateful that they are taking part in the opening. We have the usual pageant groups, the Miss Teen, the Princess contestants, the Mass Jamboree contestants, the Mother's Queen, and of course the Miss Dominica contestants.
Assistant Superintendent of Police Richmond Valentine, speaking at the press conference this week, gave details of the planned route for the parade.
The parade will move north along Victoria Street onto the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard, and they will turn right on King George V Street, that is close to the Royal Bank. The parade will continue to move in an easterly direction, and at the intersection of Great George Street, the parade will turn left on Great George Street. The parade will continue to move north on Great George Street. At the intersection of Kennedy Avenue, the parade will turn right on Kennedy Avenue and continue to move east. At the intersection of Bath Road and Kennedy Avenue, the parade will turn left and then turn right on the Windsor Park Sports Stadium Link Road and into the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. So this is the route for the opening parade for Mass Dominic 2016.
Valentine took time to remind vendors of the possible charges they face if they sell drinks in bottles to patrons.
But let me just say that the vendors who sell alcoholic beverages in glass bottles, you can be considered as aiding and abetting the commission of an offense. Because under the Carnival order, an offensive weapon, based on the description of an offensive weapon, a bottle, empty or full, fits the description. So bear that in mind.
He also sent a strong warning to those inclined to get involved in violent behavior.
I would like to caution those individuals with criminal intentions who, during the Carnival season, wait for the opportunity to settle scores with others. The Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force will implement measures to intercept, harass, and disrupt their plans. And if found culpable, prosecution will be swift.
A medical doctor at the acute psychiatric unit of the Princess Margaret Hospital, Dr. Gilda Nesty, believes the prompt and efficient response to Tropical Storm Erica was one of the major achievements of the unit. Dr. Nesty made the comment during a recent interview with GIS News.
People saw how we were there, how we were able to help them, and they saw that mental illness really and truly can affect you at any time. I mean, this was an unforeseen circumstance, and the repercussions that were faced could be definitely likened to mental illness, right? And we were able to be there for them. So APU was seen as more than just for the crazy man that most people look at it like. They were able to see it as a place where you can go and get the necessary counseling and debriefing that you need after such a major crisis. And I think people appreciated it because they came back. And even after they stopped coming to the unit, they would still continue seeing the consultant privately. So we were able to make that mark. I think that was our major achievement.
Dr. Nesty also spoke of some of the unit's plans for 2016.
2016, well, we plan to continue to work with the public to provide support for our patients. In terms of the APU, we're hoping that although there is plans for reconstruction of the General Hospital, and we're expecting a lot of reshuffling of our staff to take place, we're hoping that we can restart what we used to do in the past, which is the community outreach program, which would allow us to go to the various districts and manage our mentally ill, acutely ill patients in the districts so as to decrease the influx of acutely ill patients onto the ward.
For a recap of this week's major stories, we now join Kimani Seja for Flashback.
Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback. In the headlines this week, on Monday, a presentation of fertilizer was made to the Ministry of Agriculture under the Banana Accompanying Measures Program. The Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Johnson Drago, says that the presentation supports a strategic move by government to develop the banana and plantain subsector. The Norwegian breakaway of Norwegian Cruise Line sailed into the Roseau cruise ship berth for the first time this week. The 325-meter ship brought close to 3,700 passengers and more than 1,600 crew to the island. The Honorable Prime Minister says there are plans to create universal access to internet at all secondary schools on the island. He revealed this on Focus on Government and Development program last week. This week, a medical doctor at the acute psychiatric unit, Dr. Gilda Nesty, called on the nation's youth to stay away from illicit drugs. Dr. Nesty's remarks comes as the Drug Abuse Prevention Unit observes Drug Awareness Month. The Honorable Minister for Fisheries, Johnson Drago, is warning the public about the accountable use of the Marigot Fisheries Complex for social activities. He made those comments at a site visit of the complex this week. Also this week, the Fire and Ambulance Department reported that it responded to over 300 fire calls and 7,042 ambulance calls in 2015. Minister for National Security Rayburn Blackmore had nothing but praise for the team for a remarkable job. Contributors to the Dominica Social Security can expect to pay an increase in contributions as of January 2016. An annual 0.25% increase has been gradually added since 2012. These measures are in an effort to maintain the longevity of the system. Also this week, 8 councillors were sworn in on Wednesday to manage the affairs of the Good Hope Village Council for the next 3 years. At the helm of the newly sworn-in council is Chairman Guilford Laura. And finally, the Ministry of Health and Environment, in collaboration with the Caribbean Council for the Blind and the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust, hosted the Caribbean Diabetic Retinopathy Screening and Treatment Program workshop this week. These were some of the headline stories making the news this week. For details of each of these stories and others, visit our website or Facebook page. Back to Mervin.
Thank you, Kimani. Now for a few announcements. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica is creating a national database of residential properties available for rent in an effort to assist families displaced by Tropical Storm Erika. All homeowners and agents are hereby invited to register with the Ministry of Social Services, Family and Gender Affairs by contacting telephone numbers 266-3205 or 266-3249 between Monday and Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or email forrent@dominica.gov.dm. Registration ends on February 15. The Office of the Prime Minister invites tenders for the purchase of one 2005 Mitsubishi Nativa registration number GA507 and one 2008 Mitsubishi Pajero GA390. The vehicles are located at the police compound in Monbrose. Tenders are to be submitted in sealed envelopes and clearly marked tender for the purchase of vehicle and addressed to the Secretary to the Cabinet, Office of the Prime Minister, 6th floor Financial Center, Roseau. Applications are invited from suitably qualified persons to pursue studies in the People's Republic of China Scholarship Program 2016 towards bachelor's, master's and doctoral degrees. Applicants seeking bachelor's degrees should be between the ages of 18 and 25 and should have attained high school diplomas. For master's degrees, ages between 18 and 35 with a bachelor's degree, and for doctorate between the ages of 18 and 40 with a master's degree. Interested persons should submit an application to the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development together with the following: 2 certified copies of highest diploma, 2 notarized copies of academic transcript, 2 copies of foreigner physical examination form, 2 letters of recommendation from professors or associate professors required for higher degrees, a study plan or research proposal, minimum of 200 words for undergraduates and 800 for graduates, a CD of own works from applicants for music, a CD of own works including 2 sketches, 2 color paintings and 2 other works from applicants for fine art programs. Deadline to submit applications is February 29, 2016. And that's news. Coming up, your tip of the day. As you make plans for the party or going out with friends, you need to plan ahead. You need to protect yourself and be smart. Don't become a victim of someone else's alcohol or drug use. Make sure that there is someone you can call day or night, no matter what, if you need them. And do the same for your friends. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow us on Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I'm Mervin. Thanks for watching and join us again next time for National Focus.